In April 2022, a group of Portland, Oregon leaders attended a citywide delegation in Nashville. Over 100 Portland Metro leaders in business, entrepreneurship, government, and economic development descended on Nashville to learn from its leadership. Central to the trip was the question, how can we collaborate to create a system to uplift folks from all walks of life? In other words, how can we all rise? During the delegation, our team conducted interviews of Portland and Nashville-based leaders and took photos to continue the information sharing between the two port cities. The delegation was split into 3 days and focused on Nashville's economy, grappling the challenges of growth, and a debrief ride-along, as well as some really fun nights on Broadway Street. The purpose of the trip was to understand the differences and similarities of Portland and Nashville. During the delegation, we spoke to economic development leaders like Courtney Pogue, business and entrepreneurship leaders like Nada Dobbins, and cultural leaders like Portia Sabin. During our interviews, we asked how Portland can learn from Nashville, what are some key differences between Nashville and Portland, and what has Nashville learned from Portland. Throughout the interviews, we learned a lot. Here is some of what we heard.
Right now here in Nashville, we are creating our first plan for economic development. We'll say in crafting our RFP, a request for proposal, we utilize a lot of input from Portland based upon the sense of inclusion and equity. So that was the basis of actually creating our actual plan for economic development.
My name is Nada Dobbins. I'm the CEO of MEM Connects. We help companies recruit, retain, and develop diverse talent, and also help professionals navigate their careers.
What has it been being able to come back to Nashville and be starting a company in your community?
It's very exciting. On the panel, I said that, Nashville is growing, but it can't grow without me, and it can't grow without the residents that have been here, right? So I'm very excited. I never thought that I would be an adult in Nashville because I left shortly after graduation, but to see the growth of it and the opportunity and just everybody coming here, it just makes me really excited to still be here.
Portia Sabin, I run the Music Business Association here in Nashville. Lived in Portland for 15 years. I ran the record label Kill Rock Stars. Nashville is, I think, a little bit more of a tight-knit collaborative community. All of the music companies are here, which is not the case in Portland, although Portland has a lot of great music companies. Like the major labels are all domiciled here, headquartered here, Amazon, Apple, some of the bigger companies. So there's just a little bit of a more actual business happening here. I mean, I shouldn't say that because there's tons of business happening in Portland, but some of the bigger companies are here. Yeah. And also the songwriter community is a completely different proposition. It's very unique in the U.S. to have all these songwriters living here and then collaborating together.
Nashville's largely an entertainment city. So, entertainment and tourism is our third largest economy here, our sector. And utilizing that and to tell our story, which then allows us to attract large corporations, but also attract individuals to move here based on quality of life. So promoting the entertainment industry, promoting the hospitality industry, and then looking at our largest industry here is basically the healthcare industry. And so we're the largest, area where we have a number of health managed organizations here. And so Nashville is definitely something that you can tap into and utilizing your key industries to attract other industries to Nashville. So utilize that strategy in Portland. We're beginning to see a growth in the tech sector. So tech corporations are moving here because of the quality of life. And based on the Nashville story about music and entertainment and utilizing our hospitality industry also.
I think Nashville has had the advantage of starting small and then everybody working together as it grows. I think that's kind of a unique thing because people can get on the phone with each other, call each other up and say, hey, we need help in this regard. I think Portland has been a bigger city, a more diverse city in terms of different types of businesses that are headquartered there. I think Portland was kind of the city of bands. Right? Like bands have lived in Portland forever, and it used to be easier to be in a band. You could work at a coffee shop, you could rent a room in a house, you could afford to leave on tour for 3 months or 6 months. Someone could live in your room, and you could come back and still have your coffee shop job. As Portland has grown, which it did super fast, those coffee shop jobs are not as possible. Like the houses got sold, you can't live in a room for an affordable amount anymore. It really changed quickly. And I don't think that the infrastructure was there in place in Portland to help the artists as much as it has been here. Now, in the last 10 years, 15 years, certainly companies like CD Baby, companies like Marmoset, there have been companies that have popped up in Portland that have absolutely been devoted to helping artists. It's just, I think that Nashville started on kind of a different footing.
On May 18th, business leaders that attended the Nashville conference gathered again in Portland to continue the conversation. Central to the conversation was the need to increase community collaboration. More specifically, there was a focus on developing pathways for workforce equity, transportation development, clean energy, and holistic living. At this reunion, we had the privilege of speaking to Randy Miller. Randy's been facilitating these trips for over 2 decades. Here's his last comments on the trip.
One of the most important elements of these trips is having a group of very interested, active, aspirational Portland people on these trips that really want to understand and learn and come back and help our community. And the fact that they're all like-minded in that regard, and they all get to know each other, and they all benefit from each other's perspective because everybody has different perspectives, it really does a couple things. One, it makes people recognize how many good things we have here. But secondly is that they can network together to a point where they have built-in allies for what they do, and if they need some help in some of their own initiatives, they could use what they've learned and the people that they've learned it from to help them in something or to make the community better. That's really a bottom line for the benefit.